they were cannibals. Straight up cannibals. These guys on the fringes of society decided to make an organization to eat people. Secret societies have to be some of the world's most interesting groups. There's something about the enigma, the mystique, that makes it so fascinating. In this video, I'm going to do a deep dive into some of the world's most engrossing secret societies, letting their secrets slip and letting you know a little bit more about them. We're going to start off with some that you might have heard of, and as the video goes on, there'll be some that you probably haven't heard of before, including some secret societies from all around the world, including Asia and Africa, some really niche and obscure ones here, as well as some potentially evil societies. We really don't know what's going on here, so let's get into it. So the first one hits very close to home for me. It is the Bullingdon Club. This has to go down as one of the most infamous societies in the world due to the high-profile members and the extremely intense initiation rituals. For any American frat kids out there, if you think that your initiation was wild, hear me out, because this is about to get up. So some of the more famous members of the Bullingdon Club include Peter Fleming, author of James Bond, Prince Paul of Yugoslavia, Edward VII, the United Kingdom's former Prime Minister David Cameron, and the United Kingdom's current Prime Minister Boris Johnson. So this secret society is all male, which is a common occurrence for secret societies, as you will soon find. And it is a dining club for a select group of young men at Oxford University. To enter, you need to be a man, yes, but you also need to be from an affluent background and have gone to one of the UK's top schools such as Eton, St Paul's or Westminster. Members have to be ready to pay for on-the-spot damages as well as their own custom uniform and anything else needed. The club started back in 1780 and was limited to 30 men, originally being a hunting or cricket club. But in more recent years, the Bullingdon Club have come under heavy fire for their elitism and rowdy behaviour. According to the members, apparently a night out wouldn't be complete without the restaurant or bar they attended being trash and it being paid for completely in cash. If you want to see a good example of the Bullingdon Club in action, there's a movie called Riot Club. It's very, very good, and it's basically, the Riot Club is meant to be the Bullingdon Club. Very good movie though. Also, I can't do this entry without bringing up the elephant in the room, or in this case, the swine in the room, because former UK Prime Minister David Cameron was accused of having intercourse with a pig to join the club. The rumour actually happened. Whether or not he did is another story, but that was a rumour for the longest time, that our Prime Minister had intercourse with a pig. And if David Cameron did that, who knows what Boris Johnson would have done to get in there. In recent times, however, the numbers have dwindled, with a handful of members left a couple years ago, all of them being postgraduates with no new undergrads. So it is now on the brink of extinction. So that's just one of the many, many secret societies I have for you in this video, each one more secret than the last. So you're going to have to keep on watching to find out what they are. So from England to America, across the Atlantic, it's now time to talk about the Knights of Pythias. Pythias? I think it's Pythias. They are a secret society formed in Washington, D.C. in 1864, being founded by Justice H. Rathbone, which is a badass name, by the way. The name of the society, however, derives from the Greek story of Damon and Pythias, which I haven't read and I can't be asked to research, but all I know is that those two, Damon and Pythias, are good mates, so in theory, my best guesstimate is that the society is about friendship. However, to be friends with these lads, you have to fit a certain criteria. Firstly, as with most of these, you need to be male, but more specifically, you need to be religious, or at the very least believe in a god. You don't have to be Christian or Catholic or anything, but you need to believe in a god. Up until 1875, you could not be disabled if you wanted to join. Once that's all sorted, you would need to recite this message. Read it in your own time if you want, but this also excludes communists, anarchists, and fascists. After you're let in, you become a page, before eventually rising through the ranks to become an esquire and finally a knight. At its peak, the society had about 1 million members, but as of 1979, this declined to less than 200,000, and by 2003, this declined even further to less than 50,000. I would expect that number to have declined even further by now, but there would still likely be thousands of members, so there might be a chance that someone who is a part of it might have seen this video, so if you're a part of this group, could I join? I want to be a part of the same secret society as some of these notable members: jazz legend Louis Armstrong, former vice presidents Hubert Humphrey and Nelson Rockefeller, and former presidents Warren G. Harding, William McKinley, and Franklin D. Roosevelt. The Ancient Order of the Foresters, otherwise known as the Foresters Friendly Society, is a British friendly society first formed in 1834. Located in Southampton, England, as of the end of 2016, this society had 75,000 members, which is kind of peculiar because Southampton only has a population of 250,000. Fun fact, I'm actually going to Southampton very soon for a night out, so if you are from Southampton or have been to the Southampton area, where's the good places to go out? Back to the task at hand. Compared to many of the other societies on this list, because its membership is so large, it's not exactly a secret society like many of these other ones. You see, a friendly society is actually a mutual association for the purposes of insurance, pensions, savings, and cooperative banking, composed of a body of people who join together for a common financial or social purpose. Now, in a time before welfare, these were very important because, to my knowledge, they helped provide workers with rights, and so today, new ones are less common, but the older ones survive on. Back to the ancient order of the Foresters, to my understanding they're actually very charitable, becoming an official sponsor of Team GB's Olympic and Paralympic teams back in 2012, and more generally giving back to its community it seems. According to its website, this is one that you can actually just join, so for just £25 a year you will be entitled to all of their benefits. So not as mysterious or conspicuous as some of the other groups on this list, but it's very distinct, so I thought I'd mention it anyway. The Patriotic Order Sons of America is an American patriotic fraternal organisation that traces its origins to the anti-alien riots of the 1840s. Founded in 1847 in Pennsylvania, at its peak there were more than 600 camps nationwide. The national headquarters are in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. It began as a know-nothing political party back in the 1840s for young men between the ages of 16 to 21, but after the Know-Nothing Party ceased to exist, so did the society. So, it was resurrected in the 1860s, however under a new name, the Patriotic Order Sons of America, distinguishably being an opposition of unrestricted immigration and being a large supporter of free public education. Originally, this was a whites-only society, but with time it began to open its doors to people of all races apparently, and to this day it's open for any American-born man between the ages of 16 to 21. Since its peak, membership has declined, and so today the society maintains a presence only in Pennsylvania, where it has 14 camps, quite a decline from its 600 camps peak. The Skull and Bones Society, this has to be one of my favourites on the list. Otherwise known as the Order, Order 322, or the Brotherhood of Death, this one is actually quite similar to the Bullingdon Club actually, but it is the American version, with this university secret society being established at Yale University. Now, there's not just one secret society at Yale, they actually outdo Oxford and the Bullingdon Club because there are 3 separate secret societies at the university, being known as the Big Three. However, Skull and Bones, or the Brotherhood of Death as I will now call it, is the oldest. Now, because this is a prestigious society at a prestigious university, there have been many conspiracy theories about it, with some of the United States' most powerful men formerly being a part of it. Men such as former US presidential candidate John Kerry, Frederick W. Smith, founder of FedEx, and former United States President George W. Bush, who admitted to being a part of the society, stating, "In my senior year, I joined Skull and Bones, a secret society. So secret, I can't say anything more." Speaking of US presidents, the society has been accused in the past of being quite rowdy and crooking important artifacts. Crooking referring to stealing, of course, and rumour has it that they stole the skulls of Pancho Villa, Geronimo, and the 8th President of the United States, Martin Van Buren. This isn't confirmed, however, but it's very peculiar that these university secret societies seem to have an uncanny knack for creating leaders of the world. I mean, it goes without saying that the people that join these come from the elite. They are the most privileged people in the world. But the fact of the matter is, both candidates for the 2004 presidential election were part of the Skull and Bones Club, and the previous 2 male prime ministers of the United Kingdom were part of the Bullingdon Club, both at the same time actually. It's got to be more than a coincidence, right? What do you know? Please let me know in the comments, because I'd be so interested to have a conversation with you guys about this in the comments, so do let me know down below. Oh man, if there has ever been a meeting of elite leaders that can dictate what's going to happen to the rest of us, the Bilderberg Meetings is definitely one of them. Did I just say Bilderberg? The Bilderberg Meetings. This one is just captivating for me, and I'm so excited to tell you guys. So yeah, if you can't guess, the elite come to the Bilderberg Meetings. The political elite, the financial elite, the academic elite, the media elite, all of them together to discuss. I'm sure you're asking the question though, just what do they discuss? And to answer that, I'm going to have to give you a history of the meeting. So the Bilderberg Meetings began in 1954 to foster a dialogue between Europe and North America. The idea was that if North America and Europe had an open dialogue, they could prevent a World War III. Yeah. However, in more recent years, up until this year at least, talks have been centered around bolstering Western capitalism, the free market, and its interests around the world. Each meeting has between 120 and 150 members, and it's been going on for 67 years now. Up until 1976, it was chaired by Prince Bernard of the Netherlands, but currently the chairman is Henri de Castries, a French businessman. Now, due to this society being extremely secretive, it's drawn various conspiracy theories from both the right and the left wing. But it should be mentioned that in order to try and maintain political integrity, the guest list is drawn so that for every conservative that attends the meeting, a liberal person is also drawn to accompany them. So in theory, there should be an equal number of liberals and conservatives. The million-dollar question is still unanswered though. What goes on in there? And if you're looking for answers in this video, I can't really give you them because it goes without saying that this is a secret meeting. A lot of what's said is never passed on to the public. Their last meeting was held before the pandemic back in 2019 in Switzerland, and there will be one this year sometime around May or June. The Grand Orange Lodge, also known as the Orange Order, is a religious society, and its origins are actually quite fascinating, at least to me. I think this stuff is really, really interesting. I hope you do too, because as a guy who lives in England but also has very strong family ties to Ireland, the debate around Northern Ireland is very, very, I guess, present in my life, and I'm sure a lot of people in the United Kingdom. And the Orange Order take the British side of this debate, wanting to be part of the United Kingdom. Being based in Northern Ireland, they are comprised of Ulster Protestants, British Unionists, and they oppose Irish republicanism and Scottish independence. Due to them being Protestants, and quite intense Protestants at that, Catholics are not allowed to join their group. Beginning in 1978, its perhaps peculiar name is a reference to the Dutch-born Protestant King William of Orange, who defeated the Catholic King James II in the Williamite-Jamesite War. Today, this society is best known for the marches that occur around July the 12th, a public holiday in Northern Ireland, and many of these marches happen to go through Catholic neighbourhoods, often ending in violence. At its peak in 1965, 1/5 of Ulster, otherwise known as Northern Irish, males were part of the society, but in years since, its membership has declined, especially in Belfast and Derry. So I think I've provided evidence in this video so far to suggest the fact that when it comes to secret societies, there's often a big gender gap that paves the way. A lot of them are all male clubs, but this next entry is for the ladies out there. The next group I want to cover is the Red Lanterns. And not the superhero group, the actual Red Lanterns. So this group was organised by women who weren't allowed to join men's societies during the Boxer uprising in China at the turn of the 20th century. So they decided to make their own, and it was said that these women had supernatural powers that men could not possess. Now, apparently, reliable accounts of what these Red Lanterns did is tough to come by. And with this being a secret society, of course, you would assume this is par for the course. However, they are mentioned in second or third hand accounts as being able to walk on water, fly, set fire to homes, and stop enemy guns. These aren't reliable though, because second and third hand accounts can only get you so far. The only good accounts of their actual activities come from the Battle of Tientsin, when they nursed wounded boxers and did such work as sewing and cleaning, a bit of a far cry from supernatural abilities. But if they did have supernatural powers, wouldn't it make sense to hide them? Also, I guess sexism is a thing, so they might want to erase the fact that they actually did anything. I don't really know. But if we were to suspend our disbelief for a moment, it's said that these women had healing powers. So if they were nursing soldiers, couldn't it actually mean that they were using their powers on them? Some people even stated that their powers went as far as reviving the dead, so these claims are very high. In the end, however, it didn't really matter too much whether they did or did not have mystical powers. It didn't matter too much because the Boxers were defeated by the 8-nation alliance of all the major powers at the same time. Staying in the east now, the Kenkokukai, if I pronounced that right, apologies if I have not, were a Japanese secret society formed in April 1926. Now, unlike most societies, these guys were actually
Nazi sympathizers.
It proclaimed that its objective was to be the creation of a genuine people state based on the unanimity between the people and the emperor. But whilst it started off with many members, as the years went on, numbers started to dwindle. At its peak, it had over 10,000 members, but after its founder, Motoyuki Takapatake, died suddenly, many of them left. I couldn't find anything about them after 1928, so I'm going to assume that it died quite soon after. I think I should mention that this secret society was fervently anti-communist, with their slogan being "Death to communism, to Russian Bolshevism, to left-wing parties, and to workers' unions." Very militant, very intense. Most of the rest of these secret societies are going to be all over the place, but this one is sticking in Japan. This is the Sakurakai. So the Sakurakai were an ultra-nationalist secret society based in Japan within the Japanese Imperial Army in 1930. I think I should mention that there might have been some members from the Kenkokukai that might have joined the Sakurakai because I guess their groups shared similar values, but I didn't find anything about that online. It was established by General Hashimoto, who enticed young Japanese soldiers to attempt to do something called the Showa Restoration. This was in order to attempt to restore Emperor Hirohito to his rightful place as leader of Japan, or at least so they thought, eliminating party politics and the liberal Taisho democracy in what was known as the February 26th incident. This group of ragtag soldiers began with 10 men, and by February 1931 they had 50, but because they weren't able to secure up enough support for the emperor, they were heavily defeated. Due to this, the society was dissolved, and because they were so short-lived, there's not really too much to say about them, so let's move on to the next secret organisation. And this is a good one. The Crocodile Society. So unfortunately I can't speak on this one for too long because there's not too much reported about it. It's not like the Bullingdon Club or the Skull and Bones Society where a lot of influential people came from this group. It's not like any of the Eastern groups where this was a big part of history. There's not much reported on it, so the secret might actually be that strong. Either way, these guys existed in Liberia and Sierra Leone in the late 1800s and early 1900s. And the thing that made me want to talk about them was, how do I put this delicately? They were cannibals. Straight up cannibals. These guys on the fringes of society decided to make an organization to eat people. There is literally one line about them on Wikipedia, so again, I can't talk too much. I would be spreading disinformation, but these guys made a secret club to eat people. I am going to stick in Africa for our next entry, actually. This is the Poro Society. This is a picture of the Poro Society, and no, it's not an ancient Squid Game. It's an all-male secret organization based in Sierra Leone, Liberia, Guinea, and the Ivory Coast. The Poros are one of the world's oldest societies, and it's estimated that it began in 1000 AD, so it's about 1000 years old now. And to get a little flavour of what they're about, the Poro are governed by its own set of laws. It primarily represents a type of fraternal society to which even infants are temporarily admitted. The initiation ceremony for them consists of them carrying the newly admitted into the Poro bush and out again. There are also several religious and civil aspects of the Poro. Under the former of the two, boys join it at puberty as a rite of passage. Under its civil aspects, the society serves a kind of native governing body, making laws, deciding on war and peace, etc. Now, we know that the Poro have their own language and rituals, but the details are scarce because they want to make it a secret, as you would expect with a secret group. We do know though that they wear wooden masks as a representation of the benign and malevolent spirits, and these spirits are very important to their culture, with people known as fetish priests being a mediator between the spirits and the living. Culturally, these guys are very rich and unique. However, because these guys are an all-male society, the women of the surrounding area decided to make one of their own. This female-dominated society is known as the Sande, and their culture is just as rich and unique as their male counterparts. Due to this society being solely female, it's said that they champion women's social and political interests, being founded at some point before 1628, beginning, as with many of these African secret groups, in the west of Africa, in places such as Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone, just the same as the men. But they do have distinct differences to the Poro, and their common practices include their initiation, which is in a secluded area of the forest. They have their own selection of names to give a member after the initiation instead of their birth given name. Sacrification, which Wikipedia claims they sacrifice something or someone, but I can't find anything about it online. They also have body modification in the form of piercings and skin removals, hierarchically ranked female leadership, a pledge of secrecy vis-a-vis the men and uninitiated girls, and female genital mutilation performed by female specialists. On top of all of that, wooden helmets are worn by all of the leaders, who are sometimes even in charge of the men's society in a way. I mean, sometimes, it's kind of complicated. This is because the Poro and Sande kind of work like political parties in a strange way, not really anything that we're used to, but in their own kind of way. Basically, every few years, leadership will be passed from one society to the other. The Sande will take control of the region they inhabit for 3 years at a time, in which all signs of the men's society are banished. After this, the Poro will be handed power in a ceremony, and for the next 4 years, they will lead. With women getting 3 years and men getting 4, this adds up to 7, a very sacred number in their culture. With a culture as distinct as theirs, it would be tough to cover everything, but I hope I've given you a little flavour of what the Poro and Sande get up to when they're not keeping it shrouded in mystery. The 5 Hertford Street Club is yet another British secret group, this time based in Mayfair, which if you've played Monopoly, you will know that that means this is like the Rolls Royce of secret groups. This is a pretty bougie one, if you ask me. This is known as London's most secretive club, and for this reason, we essentially know nothing about it. But something we do know is this club's guest list, and let me just say, it is very fascinating. And if you've never heard of the 5 Hertford Street Club, this might shock you a little bit. So people who were visited include Harry Styles, Margot Robbie, Mick Jagger, George Clooney, Leonardo DiCaprio, Prince William, and Prince Harry. In fact, it's where Prince Harry had his first date with Meghan Markle, his now wife. So aside from the last 2, these guys are all big A-list actors and musicians, perhaps not so scary, but in recent years it's had more of a political streak, being called the Brexit Sex Dungeon, with many of Britain's highest ranking members of parliaments and Brexiteers linked with the club, including Home Secretary Priti Patel, former leader of UKIP Nigel Farage.
My mummy says you hate foreigners.
No, little girl, no.
Former Prime Minister David Cameron, and Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, just to name a few. They have a website, but members have to sign in. Outsiders such as myself can only see its opening times, contact details, and dress code, which is actually quite restrictive. It's owned by Robin Burley, who came under fire in 2019 after the backroom staff protested against poverty pay and demanded to be paid a living wage. The thing about this though, right, is I don't think it's wrong for A-list celebrities to want somewhere a bit private to hang out. First of all, they're going to have the money for it, but second of all, it must be so tiring if you're someone that everyone knows, I don't know, like George Clooney or Harry Styles, and every single person you meet is going to treat you differently or gawk over you, stare at you, ask you questions, try and get pictures with you. It would be a bit of a nightmare. But when you take the political elite, the leaders of the country, even from different political parties, and you put them in the same place, that's when things get a little bit strange. Of course, it makes sense for these people to want to meet up, but at the same time, to the common man, it might be a bit scary, a bit unsettling. But what do you think about this entire situation, about secret clubs and societies? I would so want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Remember the Crocodile Society? We're kind of edging on the territory of that again. This though is the Leopard Society. So just like these other African groups, this one started out in Sierra Leone but spread to surrounding countries soon after. And long story short, these guys, they're an all-male group and they think that they're leopards. Oh yeah, and also they're cannibals too. These human men are cannibal leopards, basically. Now, during gory ceremonies, they drink the blood and eat the flesh of human victims. Those initiates who aspire to become members of the cult must return from a night's foray with a bottle of their victim's blood and drink it in the presence of the assembled members. The cultists believe that a magical elixir known as Bofima, which they brew from their victims' intestines, grants them superhuman powers and enables them to transform themselves into leopards. According to their beliefs, this ritual cannibalism would strengthen both the members of the secret society as well as their entire tribe. This tribe began in the early 20th century, but in comparison to some of the other ones I've included in this video, it was generally short-lived, but a society that genuinely believes they're leopards is just so different to anything else I have on this list, so when I found out about it, I knew that I just had to include it in this video. I'm changing up my outros to be more quick and concise, so thank you very much for watching the video, like, subscribe and all that, and please let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see me do next, because I'm only 104 videos in and I'm already out of ideas. Thank you for watching.